Hey guys, Dr. Prometheus here, back with another video, and this is going to be my review on The Last of Us 2. So, I played this game off stream and a little TLDR. I actually knew a lot of the leaks beforehand. So I knew a lot of the big events, and I wanted to see exactly where the story went. Thing is, I love The Last of Us 1. And it was in 2013 when it came out. It was such an impactful game, maybe to a fault because, well, I related to Joel in many ways. Not really as a father figure portion, but he was lost in that game. He started out just surviving. And during that redemption arc wise and seeing him grow into someone that was more caring and seeing him make that choice at the end really made it show that, in fact, Joel went to not caring about anything but himself and maybe Tess to caring about Ellie like it was his own daughter. Because essentially, during that journey, she was. When I get to The Last of Us 2, and we're going to talk a little spoiler territory for this, I had an idea in my head from some of the previews and some of my own expectations. Let's get that in there. That my own expectations of what the game was going to be. And it wasn't that. You could say maybe I was too hyped for it. Maybe I really just wanted something different. Maybe it was just the fact that I was looking forward to one of the biggest releases of this year, and really one of the releases that I figured would start the year. And I figured it would be one that would be good. It would be impactful, would draw me in, and it would have a lot of the aspects of why I love the first game. The reason why I love the first game so much is it gave me the vibes that I missed from the first couple of seasons of The Walking Dead, where it was more about the virus and dealing with other humans, but really it was more about exploring the world and figuring out the virus and if there was a cure and the journey to the CDC. And that really drew me in. And me personally, I'm not into playing big zombie type games, but I do enjoy watching them from other people playing. For example, new RE games, Resident Evil games. I don't enjoy those types of games, playing them. However, I do enjoy watching playthroughs of that game because it is a compelling story, and I feel just connected to the characters in many ways of being in a survival situation. In The Last of Us 2, having, and I'm going to say this, having Joel die in the first 2 hours was just so fucking stupid. And not from I'm not saying the standpoint that he can't die in this game. He can. But that was the most impactful part of the game for me 2 hours in. That no matter what was thrown at me besides the unfulfilling, empty ending, I never got to that point where I was affected by events in the game until I got the flashbacks of Joel and Ellie. And that was just the fact that it elicited such a strong response the first 2 hours that the only thing that mattered was those scenes. Now, Ellie's story arc, and there are some pacing issues in here that I really wish were not in the game. For instance, the cliffhanger end in the theater when Abby has Ellie to gunpoint and Tommy's on the ground. Don't get me started with Jesse just randomly being shot. That was, out of all the new characters, I like Jesse the most. But changing to Abby, and it's not because it's Abby or a new character or anything, just that is such a stressful scene. Switching to the Abby storyline and playing that for 10 hours, it really sunk the tension in that scene. It's like leaving a cliffhanger. Well, I'm going to go back to The Walking Dead wise. But it's like leaving a cliffhanger between season 6 and season 7 where Negan kills 2 people and you don't know who it is. The scene's there. But making you wait 8 months for it, I had that same feeling. And that's really, I was already tailored down to not really liking it after that, before that in the first place. But that really cut the string. And I really felt that in this game. The fact that you cut to that, such a very important, intense scene, just, it lessens the impact. Now, with the death of Joel in the first 2 hours, really as a player, you want revenge. And yes, it is a story about revenge. Thing is, I felt like how they wrote this is the writers don't exactly, or maybe they have, who knows, but I felt it wasn't just implemented in any type of revenge I've ever seen. I've known people that have had survivor's guilt. I've known people that have had just pure rage over stupidless acts of violence in life, real life. I've even had that same feeling of things you can't control, and the rage is just unbearable at times. Thing is, while you're doing something to vent that rage, you would never think of the consequence. You don't. It's just not in your head. The thing is, by the time you get to the end, and you have this impactful scene where Ellie's about to kill Abby, and you see Joel playing his guitar, and you think, oh, he let her go. Felt empty. Like there was no resolution. Sure, some might say, oh, the resolution is she forgave Abby. Thing is, in fits of rage like that, forgiveness is the last thing on your mind. Forgiveness would occur in a situation where Abby and Dina have their baby back in the farm and they're dealing with the animals and stuff like that. That's where you would have those fits of rage. Can you let it go? Can you not? Can you forgive someone? Could you not? That's when you have those thoughts. The thing is, they want you to feel remorse in a way that Ellie feels remorse throughout the story. Thing is, of all the people she kills in Abby, let's say the named characters in Abby's group, she gives them all an out. Tell me where Abby is, and there will be no violence. Obviously, in a way, the player knows this is going to be hollow because we want revenge. In a way, this is likely hollow because, well, you're not logically going to let these people go, and they're going to come after you. Not what you want. But Ellie gets attacked in each situation, so there's not even an opportunity to really allow the other person to really make the decision. So in this, Ellie is defending herself. And one of the most impactful portions when she kills Owen and Mel, who's pregnant, thing is, Owen attacks her. She shoots Owen, self-defense. Mel attacks her with a knife. Mel's about to kill her. She turns the knife and kills Mel. This scene is not one of Ellie just an rage-inducing vengeance spree. Even in the one where she tortures Nora, we all know Nora's infected. Nora refuses to give up Abby's location. I felt as the player that we know Ellie is going to kill her. There's no alternative. You're not just going to let another infected person running around. No matter how much you hate another group, just don't leave an infected person around. It's not something anyone does in the game. So her torturing Nora is a very traumatic experience. But as the player, you're forced to think that Nora's dead anyway. Yes, it might elicit some type of sympathy or empathy or something like that for Nora. But let's be real. Nora's dead. She's already breathed in spores. Nora's effectively dead. Now it's about if Nora will tell us the information we want, or we torture it out of her. Because we've already said she's going to die anyway. And yes, torturing someone in this manner is going to leave you scars. Not saying that point, but the development, or the little character development there is in this situation, is to show how humanizing Ellie is. That this isn't just some vengeance spree, that there is an end game here. And the end game is starting to take its toll. Thing is, you see remorse in a way after she kills Mel and Owen, and she's sickened by it. The thing is, if anyone has ever experienced revenge, say on someone you had known, and you lash out at them, after you lash out at them, that's when you feel remorse. I shouldn't have done that to fix this. Maybe I should have done things better. Maybe I should have approached this situation better. Thing is, when you don't follow through on the act, which is a revenge, you cannot feel remorse in this portion. So by the time you get to the end and you're controlling Ellie and you don't follow through with the revenge plot, it feels hollow. Now I get this. Abby's in a state where she feels, I can only assume because there's no character development to really prove this, but I assume that her not wanting to fight is really her moving on. The thing is, she's got her revenge plan, and maybe she's felt remorse and come to terms with that. We don't know because it's not explained in the story, nor is there any character development in this matter to even show that Abby is really feeling remorseful about killing Joel. It just seems that the only elicitive emotion we get is when she sees Tommy for the first time and Tommy attacks her after killing Manny. And Lev is with her and she feels like maybe she, of course you're guessing because this is not overtly explicit, but the benefit out for the writers of the game in that Abby thinks that she's pulled Lev into a situation that is bad, and it becomes a mirror story of Ellie and Joel from the first game. Thing is, I didn't feel anything when playing Abby. Because of the event of Joel dying at Abby's hand was such a huge impact at the first part of the game that Abby's character seemed irrelevant. And I know some people will think, well, that's not the case. There's a lot of character development. And of course, it's a matter of opinion. But I was so connected to Joel from the first game that, and Ellie is an extension, that you can't help feel that bit of rage that Ellie is experiencing. I will say the Abby section is long. And the biggest thing I don't like about the game also is the pacing, where you leave on that cliffhanger, you go back, in the 8 to 10 hours that you're playing as Ellie after you've killed Nora, Owen, Mel, the dog that Mel and Owen have around, and all of these people, you've pretty much ran through them, killed all of them. When you meet them in Abby's, I felt, okay, these characters are dead. Why should I really connect with them? I mean, I get if you're trying to show some style of character development, which Owen arguably had some character development with Abby, but it was more of a triangle of love type deal, and those personally, I mean, seeing that a lot in high school in real life, everyone kind of has their one love triangle in high school or somewhere around that by the time you're in 30s or so, it's a little bit edgy, to be honest. Like, it's edgy and cringy with that. Think back and you're like, wow, that was jacked up. Should have tolerated it. I should have done something different. And yes, I get these characters are young in general, but having it in the game really didn't develop anything other than the fact of you notice how Mel's hatred for Abby grows strong. You get a couple things pointed out in it. Isaac, leader of the Washington Liberation Front, calls Abby his best fighter. We know the WLF are at war with the Scars, and it's been a very bloody war, both sides. And it's not one that's typical that you would see skirmishes, things like that. Things that we'd normally see in a day. This is post-apocalyptic survival, every man for themselves between the groups, obviously, every group by themselves. And it's just bloody, brutal. That's just a fact of life when it comes to warfare without any sort of rules of armed conflict that govern today's conflict. That's absent, so it's really just brutal. And you're like, okay, Ellie's a great fighter in this brutal conflict. When Danny is in a body bag, and you're talking to Nora, Annie as well. You get an offhand comment, I believe, of how good Ellie of a fighter is. Later on, when Mel finds out that I think it is Mel, or it might be actually I believe it's another character I'm thinking not thinking of, that Nora that Abby actually talks to, and she is connected to Danny. Thing is, the illicit response from that person, but also Mel, is that Abby leaves nothing but a wake of bodies behind her. A parallel to Joel before he meets Ellie. Joel is leaving bodies all over the East Coast, made enemies, he's been a bandit, he's been fighting and surviving for 2 decades, and he's made some enemies. Joel is hyper vigilant. And when you're hyper vigilant, that is just does not go away. You can see it today in people who deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan and get that hyper vigilance hammered in there for only 7 to 8 months, and it's there for years. Some people never get over it. Imagine now, Joel's been in this for 2 decades. This is everyday life, hyper vigilance. So him walking into that death scene and not being suspicious was just silly. Some of you might say, oh, he's gotten soft in a village, blah, 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 blah. Thing is, that village is essentially a foreign operating base today. If you're at a place like Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, or say you're at Bob in Iraq or that, you're hyper vigilant. It's just a fact of life. Now, some people may not understand that. Some people might say, well, I wasn't hyper vigilant, I was like that, so on and so forth. And everyone's different, of course. But think of this, 2 decades. Say you were 2 decades into that situation, constantly being attacked, constantly have to look over your back. That is going to cause you to be hypervigilant, no matter what. It will click on in an instant. If you want it, it'll click off. Sometimes it won't even click off at all, and you'll just be like that constant. It essentially works just like paranoia. Paranoid about everything. So the Joel death scene is awkward, weird with that, because it's uncharacteristic from the first game. Some people will say, well, Joel, as time went on, started trusting. You got to remember, his objective was to find a Firefly, Marlene. He was doing a job for the Firefly, so there's no reason why the Fireflies would ever attack him. Everyone else, however, he did not trust, no matter who he ran into. So he was hypervigilant with that, and that was weird. Kind of doing that parallel with Abby. Abby's left bodies all over the place, but she's been a part of a group this entire time, WLF, and really the bodies she's been dropping are those of Scars, the cultist-like group. So she's been dropping bodies, and that causes other people in her group to not like her. The only one that likes her is Owen. I don't feel like this is a character development here. I feel like this is supposed to elicit a response. All the people that came from her section that she arrived in the WLF don't like her, but they're loyal. They're loyal because they're loyal to the WLF and not actually Abby. By the time Abby turns, everyone she's connected to is dead. So you can't test the loyalty if they have loyalty to Abby or if they have loyalty to the WLF. By that time, Abby's fighting Everyone, WLF, Scars, don't matter. Because she's trying to protect Lev. And Lev is an interesting character that I wish had more development. I think we get a couple offhand pieces of what his backstory is, but I wish we would have gotten a bit more about who he is. Because I really thought the character was interesting. But there was nothing there. You get a protectionism from Abby on Lev. And that same thing goes with Isaac. They kind of show that Isaac's some badass. Abby talks to him, puts him in his place. Abby's told to come back by Isaac, offhand by other people. She declines, they arrest her, Nora lets her go, and she goes on her way. So I guess Nora's kind of loyal to her. And you're like, okay, cool. But when they meet in the forest, Isaac doesn't look like a badass. He's out in the forest and gets shot by Yara, who ends up being another character that, of course, is subject to the little to no development and dying trope in this. A lot of characters do. And it didn't elicit a response. I just went, damn, that was a lot. Like, it made me want to go back and, did I miss something? Was there more in that scene? Because I was concentrating on what happened between Yara shooting Isaac, the rest of WLF killing Yara, and the cutscene move in the middle of it for Abby and Lev to get some cover. I didn't know if there was more in that scene. Second, third, fourth time I see it, it is what it is at face value. And that's fine. However, it is a character that's it's just badass. It's part of, he's the leader of WLF, and it's like you start to remain that the only reason the WLF are there is to fight. It is an enemy that is different. You need human enemies, so here's two different enemy factions that operate differently. One uses guns and one uses old world tech. Okay? The war was background. Okay, the WLF attacked the island of the Scars. And it just looks like a mutual destruction. Why? They're fighting over territory. Is this... what territory? Scars live on an island. So it just seemed weird. Maybe it's the fact that it's not really explained. Maybe offhand it's the Scars move bridges to get around the patrols of the WLF, but again, it doesn't really tell you what territory they're fighting, what they're fighting about. Just that there was a ceasefire broken, and it's not really well explained. It's background. Then you put in this other flavor faction later on to call them the Rattlers, and you get nothing. They're just there to make sure Abby stuck in one spot, captured, and Ellie does not have to track her down. I thought was awkward, to the least. I didn't know how I felt with that, just having a random faction thrown. Because when Abby is captured by him, you're like, who are these? Who the hell are these people? Here, all the Fireflies might be regrouping down in Southern California, Santa Barbara. And you get this vibe, okay, maybe there's more to this. Maybe this is going to be the virus side of the plot. Nope. No virus. We don't even have any virus plot in this. And that was what made her story so compelling, was the fact that there was light at the end of the tunnel. that light, you were going to it. Then when you got to that light, you found out that, in fact, that light was pure bullshit. And because it's pure bullshit, Joel goes and saves Ellie. I've seen many people that I've talked to about this because I didn't want to immediately put out a video. It's going to be a bit longer. I didn't want to put out a video immediately because I wanted to process this game. I wanted to also watch other people's playthroughs and make sure that I just wasn't missing something. I mean, yes, at times I have difficulties connecting with things in life, and that's because of my own experiences. But I mean, I took the time to reflect a couple of days, watch other playthroughs, and really try to see if watching the other playthroughs elicited a different response. And I felt more and more betrayed. I'm not saying this is a bad game, gameplay wise. I love the gameplay. Because it's Last of Us 1 gameplay. And they do little nuances there with melee combat. And I had minimal bugs in my playthrough. Some people had a lot of bugs and stopped. Some people didn't. But I'm not saying this is a bad game from the gameplay standpoint. Thing is, I personally played Last of Us 1 for the story. I've played some janky games and gameplay, but I've been compelled to keep with the story. One of those things was Mass Effect Andromeda. It had some janky gameplay at times, janky animations, but I really liked the little nuggets drawing me in to really find out who the enemy was, but also find out why we were there, and also the stuff going on in the Milky Way. It really drew me in because it was liked it. It was a lot lore heavy, and I like that sort of thing. With this, it was the opposite. I felt betrayed by the story and empty by the end of it. Let's go through the emotions. I felt rage and betrayed by the middle because you have to play as Abby during this. Right after a scene that's very, very deep, tense. And then when you get back to that scene, you play as Abby and beat the shit out of Ellie, which is silly. Because you're still feeling that illicit response. And then when you get to the end, it felt empty. Sure, it was a roller coaster emotion, but I did not feel satisfied at the end of this. And maybe that's the emotion they're trying to elicit from people. That, well, revenge is not satisfying. The biggest thing is it does not translate to compelling gameplay from a story standpoint. This is not real life. In real life, those things are very hollow. Revenge is hollow. You feel that emptiness filled immediately, but it's not really filled. It's always hollow. Thing is, I don't feel that games. Games are a place where I want to be told a compelling story that is plausible, but it's not something I can go outside and watch going on today. It's not what I want in my games. Some people want that. Honestly, I don't. I want to see something different. And that different would be the one at the end, feel the satisfaction of killing Abby, and then who knows what left. It would be great if you had a backward story where Ellie takes in Lev because she feels remorse after killing Abby in that manner, takes Lev, and leaves. That's an even more compelling portion in that. And you can have Joel still die. The thing is, when Joel dies, it made the story even more enraging. I would change a lot of things with the story, scrap it, and do it differently. Where Joel dies, he dies towards the end, sacrificing himself for Ellie in a way that is impactful, but also making it to the point where Ellie wants revenge, but it's also her fault for seeking that revenge that gets Joel killed. Or seeking that revenge kills Tommy. And now you have a portion where she feels guilty that she killed Tommy, essentially her uncle. She's lost someone she loves as well outside of that. And this turns into just rage. Just absolute rage. And because of that rage, Tommy dies. Ellie goes out on her own, thinking she needs to avenge this. Joel comes in, you're not going to do this alone. It becomes a team, pretty much. Play as both, and this is your send-off for Joel. At the end of this, Joel takes a more prominent position, staying in the town wide, not going out, as Ellie takes the reins for the third game to deal with the emotions that helped in the second game. You still have Dina in there. Maybe Dina's not even the one that's killed in this. Maybe it's just a patrol's missed. She's really close to Jesse. Have some character development with Jesse. All three of them are close because they're around the same age. And Jesse is not shaken by the fact that Dina chooses Ellie instead of him. And they stay that path where Ellie is still like that. It's still a lesbian character because I think it fits. Especially with DLC, when The Last of Us 1. Her character is so compelling, her companion, that she's starting to have feelings for, things like that. I can't remember what the DLC was off top. Because the story is that much more impactful to the game, but her character is great. It is essentially a love triangle without drama, which is nice. Because it doesn't take a central focus of the story. However, you can pull one to where Jesse is killed. Abby's trying to save her. Nina gets injured. Not gravely, where she dies. She gets seriously injured. And now Ellie feels the guilt and the rage because the injury to Dina occurs when the town's attacked. Dina's injured severely, and Tommy dies. Then you have a revenge plot there. In many cases, what you could do with that is change Abby's character to begin with. Don't have her one that's seeking revenge for her father. Have her one where she is seeking revenge in her own way. But they all come to see that revenge is just not there. If you want to make another hollow ending, that's fine. But you could have it in a way that then Abby runs. Her father is not the doctor that killed by Joel. Maybe she reconciles with Joel after she finds out that everything is not as she's been told. So she seeks answers. And that's more compelling. She seeks answers with Lev. And she leaves it. On top of that, you put Isaac as a prominent role. You still have Abby there. Abby refuses Isaac's orders. She runs at the course of everything. Yeah, it's messy, but I'm just brainstorming at this. There was many ways you could have made this a better story. And I think it'd been more compelling to have Joel and Ellie be the one on the warpath, even separately at times, until they come together and you can do a real revenge is bad, okay, plot if you want, by Joel telling Ellie that revenge is not always the answer. And then that's when Abby let go. He leaves with Lev. Joel and Ellie leave. Ellie is seriously wounded, but still able to live. And they go their own separate ways. You have a great one with that. Like that's how you do one, because the main character is still alive. Because there's not such a high illicit emotion of revenge when Tommy is killed. You feel it there. But then when Joel tells Ellie that's enough, we sought our revenge against Isaac. When Ellie wants to do it, and Abby was just there following orders, really. Because she thought she was right, and now she knows she's wrong. Voila. Abby is not such a terrible damn character. She has some development, because then you could show how she is misguided in following what she believes in. In this, you feel everyone's misguided. But in a way, at the end of the story, you realize you don't feel anyone's misguided. You feel that Abby is the one that's justified anything. Justified in killing Joel. She's justified in leaving. She makes a decision to Ellie go. Dina go. It makes her feel like she has the moral high ground, even after she's ready to kill Dina as an eye for an eye. The story is just frustrating. And it shows because of how I talked in circles about how frustrating it is. And I was hoping I would not talk to that. But there's one big issue with the game. I'm going to show that on screen. So, what we see here is an excerpt from the surgeon recorder audio, and this is known to be Abby's father. Many people have said that Abby's father thinks Ellie is the only one, and that the player is led to believe that Ellie is the only non-infected. And in many cases, she is her type. The thing is, she's not the only one that's ever been seen immune. Now, this excerpt, I'm going to read it in full here. Marlene was right. The girl's infection, meaning Ellie, is nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and cerebral spinal fluid. Blood cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cells line, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines. An MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the symbiotic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients. We must find a way to replicate this state under laboratory conditions. We're about to hit a milestone in human history equal to the discovery of penicillin. After years of wandering in circles, we're about to come home, make a difference, and bring the human race back in control of its own destiny. All of our sacrifices and hundreds of men and women who've bled for this cause or worse will not be vain. So many things point out to this section. Saying the girl's infection is nothing we've seen implies that her immunity is different from what they've seen. So they've seen other infected, but this one is different. They don't know her immunity. In all the past cases, the antigenic titers of the patient's corticocepts remain high in both serum and cerebral spinal fluid, meaning that Ellie is in fact infected. And this is the issue I have with this. We're led many times to believe that Ellie being infected in the first game by the soldier, that it's a plot. Point to plot to tell you that Joel and Tess have not seen anyone of this matter. It raises the stakes. Oh, we really need to get this person where Marlene needs us. Take her. Like, this is serious now. We need to get away from the military on the wall and really take this serious. What it also does is when she bites David, she plays it off as David is now infected so she can use that to her advantage. The thing is, it makes it ambiguous on if she is actually a carrier. With this, strictly says that the virus is evident in Ellie's body. And that when they take cultures away from her body, it in fact starts growing the fungus. So, something is within Ellie's brain that is inside her that is capable of putting down disease. She's infected. Here's my issue. Abby and Ellie are fighting. They're bloody as hell in the theater scene. They've punched each other a bunch. In that case, you could then safely assume, if you've ever been punched in the mouth, that you can't have cuts in your mouth. Ellie bites Abby. By this surgeon, by Abby's own father's recorder audio log, says that Ellie is infected. But yet, later we find Abby still strung out 2 months later and not infected. So we have 3 possibilities. Abby's not a carrier. Ellie isn't a carrier, which kind of goes against this entire portion because we know she's a carrier. She has it in her bloodstream. Or really 4 possibilities. The strain that is carried by Ellie is not contagious and not harmful to humans, but yet we know it does grow outside the body. Well, so could infect other humans. Third one is that Well, Abby is immune, which is a huge plot hole that isn't seen in the first game. And maybe that's because they never thought about doing a storyline like that, but it puts a light that the doctor that was going to dissect Ellie is not the good guy here. Meaning, this is very ambiguous. It is a moral gray area where he has hidden his own daughter's immunity to sacrifice other people to get the cure. Doesn't make Joel justified, but it allows Joel some ambiguity of all these people he kills really pointless. On top of the fact that if they've come across other infected, like this seems like this infection is like nothing we've seen, and in all past cases that they have studied other. Fourth one is very unsatisfying, and that this is just a plot hole. That this is a complete bullshit plot hole. They didn't think about it. They didn't even look at this that they put in there. They just said, you know what? We'll just say she's bit and it's fine. Okay, cool. You want to flip the script? Well, when Ellie's fingers are bitten off, of course there's blood exchange there. So we're seeing a portion that is Ellie just immune but can't be a carrier? There is a lot of issues in continuity from the first to the second game. And for someone who loved the first game so much, it is just not something I can get over. So at the end of the day, to end this is a long 15-minute spiel. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying this is a bad game. I'm not saying this is a good game. It's a very polarizing game. Many people are going to have opinions. This is a good story. I, on the other hand, believe this is not a great story. When put all together, it is not great. There are some great portions of writing in here, but altogether, it is just not great. Best parts of the game are the sequences between Ellie and Joel because they elicit the most response. They elicit an emotional response that I feel, because Joel's dead, I feel sad. The thing is, those portions are so touching that it's painful. Painful in the way that this is the game I wanted. I wanted the character development of Joel, Ellie to continue. See really the generation past the and move into a new era. You can still have the situation for Abby to be there. It can be a longer game. That's fine. It can be a 30-hour game. That is completely fine. But what you do is you do not leave cliffhanger. For example, on the portion I was saying, Dina, Jesse, and a patrol is captured. Ellie goes out and looks for him on her own, sneaks out. In the escape, Ellie is killed. Not Ellie, but Jesse is killed. One of Ellie's close friends. Dina is saved, but injured. And they get out of that tight spot because Tommy Joel. They are followed back to Jackson, which elicits a response from said area, who's led by Isaac. Isaac besieges the town. Abby, in the process of this, kills Tommy on the orders of Isaac. Joel wants redemption against Isaac. Ellie is blinded by rage, but she wants revenge not against Isaac, but the person that killed Tommy, and also by proxy killed Jesse. From there, Ellie sneaks out, goes out on her own, hunting Abby. This portion, Joel catches up to her, and them together take the fight and kill Isaac. In the process, you have a great fight between Ellie and Abby, to the point where they're both severely injured. Before either of them can deal the final blow, either of them, Joel steps in, breaks it up, saying that this is not the way. Ellie realizes that this, in fact, is not anything of what Tommy wanted, in fact, and that getting revenge against Abby is hollow because ordered by Isaac, and Isaac is now dead, that Ellie forgives Abby. Joel forgives Abby. Then you could have a story portion towards the end of Abby. Or maybe even towards the fact of after Jackson is besieged, Tommy dies. You have a section where it's known that the target was actually supposed to be Joel, because Isaac was a Firefly. Abby did not know this. In turn, or Tommy is the target because he's a former Firefly, but they do not know about Joel. We go to a portion where Abby is, then you have the character development portion of Abby before all of her friends are killed. Ellie kills all of her friends, elicits a revenge plot between both of them. Well, Joel kills Isaac. Yes, one side is hollow. Ellie. Maybe you have Abby killed at the end of it. Obviously not Ellie. And you have just a bleak situation between them both. Or maybe you do kill Joel then and Abby kills both. Ellie kills both Abby and Isaac. But this is a more compelling story. It is just better. But yeah. This game, all in all, left more to be desired. Thing is, graphics were beautiful, which I expect and is the norm. Gameplay was clunky at times with the gunfire, but this is not something different for this genre, and plus maybe more used to keyboard and mouse. But if I were to give it a number, I would put it as a 6/10. And that is because the story for this is so important. And I did not feel the compelling moments of the story after Joel was killed. I felt just like Ellie because I could understand what blind rage and blind vengeance feels like. Not fulfilling half the time. It takes a big toll. And at the end of it, after you'd finish all the deeds you set out to, especially righting the wrongs that you feel from that person that wronged you, that's when the remorse sets in. Thing is, the remorse set in for her before she does, before she actually kills her. So it feels hollow. Yeah, guys, that is my lengthy, long review. An hour long. None of my reviews are ever this long, and I wanted to go more deep into it. I have some issues, and maybe some of this was confusing, but at the end of the day, just remember this is my opinion on the game. People can feel however they want about the game because these things speak differently to us. Games speak differently to every person. I think we all need to realize that not all of us have the same taste. And while a lot of people may share the same feelings and emotions as the first because there's a first game and it kind of sets up a point standard where everyone feels. When you have a game like this that is purposely set out to elicit emotion that sometimes goes out of its way to elicit emotion that has no reason to move the plot forward after Joel's death, or makes a death the sole reason of the plot. The trope and cliche really doesn't resonate because I've seen people in real life in those already. Some people just go off the rails. Some people go off the rails more than I've ever seen ever. And target not just the person they want to get revenge against, but they target everyone around them. I think we all need to remember that this is a game that people are going to have different opinions about and different thoughts, different ideas. But ultimately, and generally, a lot of the people who played the first game, this will not elicit the response that you would feel. Now, I want to caveat at the end of this also say my issues are with the fact that there's lack of story development, not what is in here. Per se, that people's appearances, people's sexual orientation in the game, none of that. None of that is relevant to me because I just wanted some extra character development after that. Ellie, that's not an issue because we know kind of the gist, kind of sort of who Ellie is from the first game. And we're learning who she is as an adult. We know about Joel from the first game. We know he's not going to change much. We know about Tommy from the first game. We know he's not going to change. But all the other characters, and we know a little bit about Dina because I think she was the one, the DLC, I think, with Ellie. I think, maybe? No. That was someone else. My bad. So we kind of get the gist about Ellie's sexuality in that game as well, which just adds on to character development we know about Ellie, and that adds into the game. Thing is, I wanted to know more about Dina, who she is, other than what is connected, and it's in the diary, but it's not in the game. I don't want to read a diary. I want it in the game. I want in a game where they just have such great interactions between characters, such great animations. But to not have these scenes play out in front of you is just heartbreaking. The things that are in the diary. Some of them are, some of them are hinted, and some of them just aren't. And those scenes would have been great. And I really felt that Abby's character development just didn't matter. Because how I personally feel. Yeah. It didn't matter what looked like, nothing. I didn't feel anything after the major emotional response that was Joel's death. That's going to do that to some people. Some people, Joel dying will elicit a response that is so heavy-handed that you don't care. You don't care who this other person is. Some people will feel that after playing through Abby's portion that he's more compelling. That's maybe because Joel's death did not impact them as me. So the rest of the game was something different. Because they weren't blinded. I'm going to leave it here, guys. Thank you all for joining me. This is my long spoiler thoughts video on The Last of Us 2. I did not play this on stream. I probably won't have my playthrough up on YouTube. It is very, very, very polarized. But I want to keep some good vibes in my channel. I'm going to keep our playthroughs kind of going. Maybe eventually down the road, when this doesn't get as big, maybe we do something. I don't know. I don't really see myself playing this game again. But I will say, it was not as bad as the story in Wolfenstein Youngblood. That still holds it. That holds the worst story in world character development that I've ever experienced in a video game. So at least you're not there now, Naughty Dog. But you either have to retcon this or just change direction. Because my strong feelings and opinions, this is a bad game. Because yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Go ahead and leave the comments below. I know there may be some in there that are opposing me, but just remember that at the end of the day, we all see video games as differently, and some people will elicit a better response. Some people will not be depressing, sulking, and frankly disappointing personality. Not personality, but depressing mood this game put me in the last couple of days because how bad, how much of a failure I felt. I'll see you guys next time. Guys, next thoughts video. I guess.